Hi, this is Chris at Clever Unicorn Games and the Unicorn Collective, back with another one of our interviews. Today I have games designer Nikita Sullivan. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Tell me, what do you do when you are not making or playing games?
um, I've been sleeping and resting a lot from all the stress of making and playing games. I really like making things, so I've always just whenever there's stuff around started making things. So I made jewelry when I was younger, and now I'll like knit and crochet, and I have a few too many craft related hobbies where people now just like go, oh, you like crafting? I sorted out my craft room, and here's a box of ribbon. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do something with ribbon. So yeah, I was thinking because someone asked this on Twitter the other day as well. I was like, other than board games, what do you do? And I thought, I really enjoy weightlifting. I've not been very well recently, and I need to get back to it. But I really enjoy weightlifting. I really like cooking, crafting, and gardening. But I'm not willing to garden unless growing something that I can eat and that has a purpose. So I like do fruit trees and vegetables. But I realised that absolutely everything is just I really love creating something from nothing, or just going like even weightlifting is like I want to build up my muscle with these things, and I just kind of feel like it's all just come blanket under one thing that I like. Going, here's some components, here's a beautiful thing, and that's just me. Just, like, even if it's just like, oh, here's chicken and vegetables, come with stir fry.
Oh God, no, that's kind of interesting as well, isn't it? Because the making of the games as the prototype sort of stage of the game kind of means that all of us as designers are kind of like that, you know, because we're all putting pieces together in a way that kind of makes something pretty in our own eyes. You know, it's pretty in the way the mechanics work, maybe, or the way that it flows. You know, so it's it kind of fits that you would have a go at games as well. Yeah. And especially as your games are handmade at the moment, mostly. So especially with the Memory Mischief, it's a handmade game that people will be getting, which is incredible.
Yeah, I get so much more satisfaction from the fact I've made it. I mean, I've only made 6 copies so far. But just the process of putting it all together makes me really happy. But yeah, I think because I've done crafts all my life, and when I was trying to sell the things I've made, which has happened occasionally and is nice, I realised every other crafter I meet and see, like on Etsy and things like that, they're like, I knit and crochet, or I make jewelry, or I do this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't have something like that. I just want to do a bit of everything. And then board games was the first thing that I came across that I was like, no, this is the thing I want to make. And when I'm done making this, I want to make another one of those, like different things, different mechanics, everything like that. But yeah, so I feel like I really found myself in the last couple of years of making board games, because it's like I've always wanted to make things, and this is something that I want to continue constantly making this type of thing. So it's really kind of gelled for me.
Oh, and it has. That's another thing. It has that bit of everything in it as a thing, because you've got your creative writing, you've got your art, you've got your graphic design, you've got your component making and your sorting, and
Yeah.
it's all sorts of creativity all in one little box. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's really good for me if I like, if you do a bit of the creative writing and well, I don't get bored of the creative writing, but writing instructions when you get a bit bored or something like that. So, well, I'll switch over to doing the artwork for a bit, and it gives my brain a way to work in a different way for a while, and then you come back to it, refresh your brain, and it's a bit better. But during that whole period, you're still working on the one thing. There's no leaving it or whatever. So you still feel productive even though you're switching tasks.
What would you say? Yeah, I'm jumping on to another question. What would you say is your favorite board game?
Okay. I'm really bad at favorites for absolutely everything. I had this conversation with someone earlier today who was like, what's your favorite pie? Don't ask why that random question came up, but it did. And I was like, genuinely, if you gave me a list of pies, I would pick the one I hadn't tried yet, because I want to try something new. Yeah. But so my favorite game to play at a time is usually probably our newest one that gels and is easy to get out. So we talked about this a bit before recording, but I have a few little health conditions, and there's some times that I just don't feel well enough to sit up at a game table. So when that happens, we will get little card games out and play on like a coffee table, and I don't have to be bolt upright, and I don't have to worry about this, that, or the other. So there's always like a favourite little card game, like Love Letter or Flux or something that we can just grab out. I really want to say Try to Win right now. That also comes out a lot. And Mini Memory Mischief was really good for that as well, because literally you need like this much space to play as well. But so there's always kind of a big game that I always want to play and a little game that I always want to play. So like at the moment, Takanoko is the bigger game that I want to play when we're getting it out. And I love the graphics and I think it's adorable. But it has been Ticket to Ride and it has been this, that, and the other, and it's just, it always changes. It's what you're in the mood for, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like that the thing with me and my husband is that I'm always in the mood to play board games, but need to be in the right mood to play video games. He's always happy to play video games, but needs to be in the right mood to play board games. Yeah. However, he has never once said no to me when it's playing one of my games, because he really does actually enjoy the process of like playtesting and like watching it grow, and that's really nice.
When you have taken, so say with both games now, because you've had 2 successful Kickstarters, with both of those, say Try to Win especially, because that one you've actually delivered out now and that's gone out to the backers, have you hit a barrier or hurdle that stopped you, and it probably stopped you for a while, and then how did you overcome that barrier?
I think there's 2 things I can talk about here that haven't stopped me, but have maybe made me pause for thought and delayed me. So the first thing is, I got really excited when we looked up triathlon games and there weren't any. And I was like, it's amazing! It's a brand new idea! No one's ever done it! It's brilliant! And then I very slowly realised it's because nobody wants it.
Oh.
And I'm so happy to admit that, right? But I have had hardcore Warhammer people tell me, do I look like I want to do a sport? And I'm like, you don't look like you could beat up an orc either, but but I'm 100% okay. So there's 2 types of people that don't like my game. There's the kind of person who goes, I can see what you've done there, that's nice, not for me. Love those people, my favourite people. I like those people more than the people who buy my game, because they've just understood and they've gone, but I know someone who'd like that game, and like that often happens. That's really good, you know. And there's the other guy that tries to rebuild my game into something they would like, and I'm just like, but then it's not a little light game anymore, and that's, you've got to have the light games along with the medium and the big games. And I've had 2 people that I would call that kind of hardcore gamer so far say, absolutely love your game, to get people in the mood to play games, to then bring in harder games. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly you, without that game in the middle, you know. So I'm quite all right with that, and I'm all right with the fact that sport themes don't sell very well, but you know, for the few people the few people that really love it. And it was crazy to me that like when people were receiving it, they weren't just going, I like your game, I enjoy your game, but the word love was with it. I was like, yeah, that's fine then.
Yeah.
So some people love my game, that's completely fine by me. But now I'm going to tell you my second thing that stopped me. COVID. Obviously.
Yeah. Shows, it's a show thing, isn't it? Shows are a big help if you can get to shows. Did you have some planned for this year as well?
Yeah, so I was going to be going to UKG to play test Malum Hortus, so that never happened. And I was going to be going to HandyCon as a proper designer, and that didn't happen. And I don't know, online conventions I've not really gotten involved with yet, because I feel like I've got enough on my plate right now. than trying to like host something online at the same time as well. But COVID more for getting Try to Win Here from China.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I really, really wanted to fulfill early, so it should have fulfilled in May, but I put the fulfillment date as June, thinking that gives me time for any international shipping buffers, anything like that.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I'm really proud that I fulfilled in August. There's only 2 extra months, and I know other people have tacked on like a year because of COVID. So I think I handled it as best I could. There's nothing I could have done to get it to me faster.
Yep.
But it was a delay that I wasn't happy with, and I don't like disappointing people. And this is one thing that I love Twitter for, though, because whenever I feel this way, I'll just go to Twitter. This has happened. This has happened. I need a gif of just me going. Ah!
Oh, we could probably make one from this video now.
Yeah, let's do that. And people who have known about indie designers and Kickstarters a lot longer than me will go, hey now. I backed something 4 years ago and I've still not got that. So
yeah.
And occasionally there's things that you know yourself, like there's nothing more you could have done or anything else like that. But just occasionally having someone who hardly knows you say, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Really helps.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer on the fulfillment side with COVID this year. It's so many people have been put back, with their projects, but I think generally people understand. It's one of those things. This year could not be helped in any way, shape, or form. Nothing this global has happened in most of our lifetimes. So it is a whole new undiscovered country, as still coming out of it. If we come out of it, we don't know. Nobody knows, it could still go on for another year. But I think strategizing and overcoming it has helped a lot of people, though. If you can overcome this, then you should be able to overcome anything when it comes back to normality. So I think it will. People don't see it now, but I think they'll coming out of it, they'll see that it's probably helped them, especially in their organizational skills. So yeah.
I had someone make that point to me and say, if you can fund and get games fulfilled and do all that this year, then you're laughing, you're completely fine. And I was just like, yeah, but if I'd have started just 1 year before, then all I wanted during lockdown, when I was trying to get pre-orders, was to be able to give something to someone that they can use while they're locked down, and I had nothing.
Yeah.
And no one wants to pre-order something for in 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4, or 10 or 20 months time, for all they know. When you're in that situation, that's entirely understandable. But I feel like my pre-orders took a pretty big hit for that, because like literally, as I was like, you can pre-order it, they were like, I can only sit at home. If I'm going to buy a game, it's going to be something that arrives tomorrow. Which is fair enough. Entirely fair enough.
Let's go on to another question. Have you ever played a game you didn't like? And you don't have to name it, but what was it you did not like about that game? What put you off the game?
So, I'm pretty easy to please, especially if I'm playing with people I like. Board games for me are very much a way to spend time with the people I like. And I love board games so much. But I would rather sit and watch TV, which is one of my least favourite tasks,
activities,
than play a game that I love with someone who's going to make me feel bad and have a bad experience during it. And there are a few people like that in life. However, only since turning my brain on to games design, I've found 2 games that I really didn't like. And for someone who's easy to please, that's pretty bad. So I won't name them. But one of them, a friend brought over, and they were trying to remember how to play. We were reading through the rules. The rules were very, very short. And it told you to do a thing, but it didn't tell you when that thing happens. So it's literally, I'll try and explain it without actually going into what the game is, but it's literally like, this thing will happen. And you go, well, that thing needs to happen for the game to progress, but when does that thing happen? And we went through the rules twice and it doesn't tell you. And it had been a Kickstarter, so I think there was a bit of a kind of, if you had backed it on Kickstarter, you probably knew enough about it to just sit down and play it.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe those rules weren't blind play tested at all. Because that would have been my first thing, is like, how and when does this thing happen? So yeah, it's probably completely fine for people who already knew what the game was in order to back it. But
yeah,
for me, coming at it as a new person, we didn't know how to play. We literally got the cards out. I tell you, it was a card game.
Yeah.
Got the cards out, dealt ourselves some, and then went, but what do we do? The other one I didn't like, though, was actually something. Oh, should I say that it was? No, that's not.
It's hard not saying a name, isn't it?
It's really hard. So, it's a card game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a short card game that's supposed to be played in 10 minutes. They recommend playing 3 rounds. Someone who owns the game will know what it is from that, probably, because it's very like, we recommend.
Sushi Go.
No, I like Sushi Go.
Yeah, I like Sushi Go too, but that's one that has 3 rounds.
No, but it was like, Sushi Go has 3 rounds in order to do 1 game.
Yeah.
By 3 rounds, like you are playing 1 game 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the only thing I don't do with Sushi Go is there's something in the rules that's like you have to shout Sushi
Chopstick.
Go or something.
Oh yeah, Sushi Go. Yeah. But we don't. We shout choppity sticks. We say choppity sticks. I don't know why. I have no idea why, but yeah, we do.
I like sort of things that people just end up doing and then it becomes a running thing. I really like that. For instance, there are lots of things we say in our house that only get said in our house because of our cat. We have a little cupboard. We have shelves where the shoes go, and occasionally our cat Captain will just be sat on that shelf, and we'll just go, Captain, his shoes. And just so the other person knows where he is, just Captain, his shoes. We normally know where he is because he's really codependent cat. He's almost always on one of our laps. So Captain, his shoes is a thing. And then when he meows at us, we say melon back to him. Because one day I was cutting up a melon, talking about the lovely melon, while he was meowing next door, and it genuinely sounded like he was joining in.
Wow.
So now when he's meowing, we just go, melon, back at him.
My dog loves watermelon.
At the pitch he's meowing, we melon at him. So yeah, I like those little things that just happen for you, and anyone else who like looked in on your brain, your world, would be like, they're called chopsticks.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's that thing. But yeah, no, it wasn't Sushi Go. We really like Sushi Go. I don't really like games that want you to shout.
Fair dues.
I just, it's just not fun for me to shout. I don't know. So yeah, I avoid them typically, but we just play without the shouting bit. That's fine, isn't it? You don't need to shout as soon as you go. There's no need for it.
This is brilliant. This is brilliant. This is the first time anybody's come up with, I don't like games where people have to shout, and that's brilliant. That is a great thing.
I like. So someone got me Game Off for my 30th birthday, and it is like the rude version of it. But it's all basically you like compete against each other for things. And I like most of it. It's just compare this. One of it was just like whoever has the hairiest arms wins. All right, I lose. Fine. It's just like, if you're going to lose for something, I'd rather it be being too hirsute. It's fine. But it's just the random shouting. I don't get. There are parts of like party games and stuff like that I actually truly really enjoy, especially when it's with my friends, because there will be, you've got those group of friends that you will have running jokes after that forever. Like me trying one of them was you both had to try and do the splits, and whoever got closest to the floor won, and I was like, I win, yeah. But I was like, it was my 30th birthday. I was like in a really pretty dress, and I was like, right, guys, move the chairs out of the way. I'm gonna do this. There's no way you'll beat me. But yes, I quite like things that make you do silly things when you're in the mood for it. But for just a normal game where you're playing cards to just be and shout this, why?
No.
Why should I shout?
Yeah.
Anyway, right, I still haven't told you why I don't like this game.
Okay.
So I don't like this game. It's a 10-minute card game, and if you play the quick version, this is a 10-minute card game.
Okay.
This has 84 cards in it. Occasionally, when you play games like Flux and stuff, and Ticket to Ride and stuff like that, you have to reshuffle the deck because you've used all the cards. In a 10-minute game, we reshuffle the cards 3 times.
Oh, somebody's mentioned this to me. Somebody's mentioned this game to me, and I can't remember now. I'll think about it. I'm going to ask you afterwards about these games anyway, but somebody's mentioned to me a game where you have to shuffle way too many times for a short game. Somebody's mentioned that to me recently.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's like I think like 2 or 3 things you can do on a turn, and if the right cards are out, there is no point doing absolutely anything than the one thing that's doable in that situation. And if you get there, the game is just like boring and ended pretty much. And I just didn't enjoy it. It felt like there was a theme and there was a rough idea, but there wasn't enough. Like, it's a very heavy player interaction game. You're like literally opposing each up against each other, and there was hardly any player interaction, even though that was the thing. It was just like, oh, well, you've won. Oh, you've won. Oh, nice.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Now we're on to your favourite question. Now,
oh,
why do you make gems or games? Games, as we're going to say, because I mistyped the questions originally when I sent them through to you. What is your end goal in making games? What is it that you want to do?
I think it's another thing where I'm a bit different to most people. So I had someone a couple of months ago go, wouldn't it be great if a publisher picked this up? And I was like, no. No, it wouldn't. Right. I say this with the caveat that in 10 years' time I might be tired. I feel quite tired right now. I'm literally just getting off of a 30-day campaign, and your brain doesn't really rest at all. Well, for me, my brain does not rest during a Kickstarter campaign at all. It's constantly on some level awake and dealing with the fact that people are buying your game. I don't.
I'm not going to mention the fact that you now have to make over 200 of them. I'll not mention that. So.
Oh, I'm really going to enjoy it, because you on like day 2 or something, you were like, if you get like 500, you should probably go through Fulfilment. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I thought, I could make 500. I could do 500.
Yeah, but then you told me how cheap you're actually putting them together yourself for, and from a manufacturing point of view, I'm not sure you would get much more of a discount once you got it shipped over than what you're actually doing it for. So definitely fair dues. If you don't mind doing it, then yeah.
I honestly think with Mini Memory Mischief, the only reason to go with a big manufacturer would be if I wanted the tins printed, or something. Which is very nice, and I've seen minting games with the tins printed, but I don't.
You don't need it.
I think I know I know my audience enough to know that it being a sticker versus it being printed isn't going to make that.
I think it adds character.
I think it's really sweet. One of my reviewers, like, about 3 times, she did a video playthrough, and about 3 times during it, she was like, oh yeah, the final version's going to have this in it, but I think it's better like this. I like the homespun thing, and I like this. So that was really nice. And because the only real difference is I printed the review copies, and they're going to get printed professionally and it's going to be cut professionally. So that, like, on the prototypes, the edges curl a little bit and stuff like that, and there'll be proper boards. Kind of, but yeah, so that's the only real difference between the review copies, is that someone else is doing the printing, and it will look a lot better than my horrible print. My horrible printer, that when I printed out the bits for Mini Memory Mischief for the review copies, decided that cyan just about works, and it will just put lines
Yeah.
randomly through, and just had random
I've
blue
had that with
lines.
prototypes. Yeah.
I think, for me though, it's about being indie, and I want to work for myself, and I want to be an indie publisher. And by an indie publisher, I mean just self-publishing. I don't want to publish other people's games.
Yep.
I just want to be me. and it also kind of goes back, like, there's been a few people who have been like, do you want to collaborate on something? And as much as I would love to, as I say, I have various health conditions and I work to like my own schedule. And if I'm late in launching my Kickstarter because I've had a flu or something and I've taken it's a bit worse for me or whatever, that's just me. I'm disappointing.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 people were waiting for launch day to be like, I'm going to be the first person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to work to my own schedule and I want to keep to my own things. And that I mean, I have a notebook full of game ideas now. I've got about 6 years work ahead of me. And I'm literally like, yeah, if you want to schedule something in for like 2028, that'll do. But yeah, no, I would love to collaborate with people and I'd love to do this, that and the other. But for my own mental well-being, because I can't deal with letting other people down, I want it to just be me. And then I'm the only one that I'm up against, as it were, or whatever.
No, I get it. What advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to start out in creating games?
So, my advice, if someone has a game idea that they want, my advice, if you have no game idea and you just want to make a game, is research, find the themes people like, find the mechanics people like, gel them together, whatever. I'm saying this, I mean, you're asking, if someone wants to ask the advice of someone who's been in the industry about a year, then they're asking anyway.
Yeah, but you might have been in it a year longer than they have, so you have a year's worth of experience over them.
Yeah, so I can't give anyone in-depth, this will work or this won't work. So my advice is, from my limited experience, if you have an idea for a game, make it and make a prototype. And my thought on this is, either you've got the get up and go to do all of the research, all of the prep, all of the organization yourself, or you've got the money to pay other people to do that, or you've made a prototype and you've realized that you don't want to do all of that, but you've got the prototype and that's something you can play with your friends and family, and that's lovely. So I think if you've just got the idea, prototype it. I mean, I wish I'd prototyped Try to Win so much earlier, but no part of my brain thought, well, I've got a good idea here and people want to give me money for it. I was like, no way. And it was really only because I was like making it for a purpose. If I hadn't made it for husband's Christmas present, then I probably wouldn't have made it. And it was the process of making it and playing it that made me realize, actually. And so I'm all kinds of nerd, including an organisation nerd. So the whole going to manufacturers, getting loads of quotes, comparing them all, doing all of this, I quite like doing all of that. And no one likes doing that. Oh, yes, someone else. But hardly anyone, I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, I agree. Nobody I speak to likes doing it.
And I really enjoyed the process of going back and forth, and I've learnt stuff from I kind of plan now to always have kind of a manufactured game that I'm working towards and a minting game, because I know I can do the minting games now. And in that way, because the manufactured games need so much more money, I can just keep going with my little projects until I feel like the big manufactured one has a big enough audience to launch. And that way, I don't go mental, like just drown in quicksand going, nobody wants this game, because there's the little games and they have like their own little audience that love minting games as well, which is really great. But that way I don't go crazy.
No, it's good. And I'll say right now, it is fascinating watching you go through, because this is like, you are the perfect sort of subject for somebody to come in who's not got into it before and start watching, because so far, I don't want to jinx it though by saying this, but you're doing the right thing. You're going the right way. You started out with something pretty simple and ended up doing quite well. Now you've gone on to something probably a little bit different, and there's a little bit more to it. In maybe it's not as big a game as what Try to Win was, but there's more. It looks like you've putting a bit more into it, and you've got way more backers from it. And then I'm really interested in seeing what comes next. I don't want you to about that, but yeah, that's kind of the way it's going. It's interesting to watch as you release these things, what direction they're going in, and the following building up behind them. So yeah, there you go, and that's me finished. That's us finished. So thank you very much for coming and speaking to me today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.